Okay, it's 8 a.m. Good morning, councillors and administration. I'm Chris Gibbs, the Shire President. I declare this meeting open at 8 a.m. on the 2nd of December 2025. The Yorkshire Council acknowledges the Balladong people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional owners of the country where this meeting is being held, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water, sky and culture. We pay our respects to all these people and their elders, past, present and emerging. Okay, record of attendance. We have Councillor Chris Gibbs, the Shire President, Councillor Denise Smyth, the Deputy Shire President. We have Councillor Elaine Ashford, Councillor Monique Hutchinson, Councillor Kevin Pike, Councillor Kevin Trent and Councillor Melissa Welsh. For staff, we have Annika Bilson, Acting Executive Manager, Corporate and Community Services, and Vanessa Green, Council and Executive Support Officer. Thanks everyone for attending. We have no apologies or leave of absence, and there were 0 people in the gallery at the commencement of the meeting. Declarations of interest, financial proximity and impartiality. Do we have any of those? I'll read this one out. Vanessa Green and Annika Bilson, due to the nature of our employment relationship with the CEO, noting that neither officers have any decision-making authority in this process. And a quick double check that the remainder of council has no interest to declare. Thank you very much. We'll go to public question time, which is limited to 15 minutes. Can I please get some advice from Vanessa Green as to whether I need to read all of this for the recording? No, I think given that there are 0 people in the gallery, there won't be a question time, so we will leave that. I'll open question time at 8:01 a.m. And as there are 0 people in the gallery, I will close public question time at 8:01 a.m. Okay, there's no applicable minutes of a previous meeting. There's no announcement from me. So what I need to do now, so that we can deal with the confidential item, is to move to close this meeting to the public to consider the officers' reports, moved by Councillor Chris Gibbs, seconded by Councillor
Denise Smyth.
Councillor Denise Smyth seconds. The movement is that Council close the meeting to the public at 8:02 a.m. in accordance with Section 5.23A of the Local Government Act 1995 that deals with a matter affecting an employee. Let's take a vote on that, please. And that has passed, is carried 7-0. I'll now move that we open the meeting to the public at 8:07 a.m. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Smyth is seconding. Let's take a vote on that.
Seconds.
Yep, let's take a vote on that, please. Thank you. That's carried 7-0 to open. If I can just... Just pausing for a second while we investigate a little bit of activity outside the council chambers. Okay. Now, can I please check with admin? Do I read all of that again now? Because we're out of the meeting. Okay. All right. So, 9, public reading of resolutions made behind closed doors. The Shire President will read aloud the resolutions. Okay. So here we go, everyone. 8.1, process and timeline of the recruitment and selection process for the CEO, that with regard to process and timeline of the recruitment and selection process for the Chief Executive Officer, Council 1 adopts the proposed process and timeline for the recruitment and selection of a Chief Executive Officer for the Shire of York as presented in Confidential Appendix 8.1A. 2. Notes that several of the timeframes can only be established following the appointment of an independent HR consultant engaged to facilitate the recruitment and selection process. 8.2. Appointment of elected members to the CEO selection panel terms of reference and expression of interest for an independent member. That with regard to appointment of elected members to the CEO selection panel terms of reference and expression of interest for independent member, Council 1 establishes a CEO selection panel comprising of elected members and an independent member for the purpose of recruiting and selecting a Chief Executive Officer for the Shire of York. 2. Appoints Councillor Chris Gibbs, Shire President, Councillor Denise Smythe, Deputy Shire President, Councillor Monique Hutchinson and Councillor Kevin Trent as members to the CEO selection panel, with Councillor Melissa Welsh appointed as the Deputy Member. 3. Adopts the terms of reference for the CEO selection panel as presented in Confidential Appendix 8.2A. 4. Approves the expression of interest documentation as presented in Confidential Appendix 8.2B. 5. Authorises the Acting Executive Manager, Corporate and Community Services to make any minor typographical or formatting changes to the terms of reference and expression of interest documentation prior to publication. 6. Notes Appendix 8.2A and Appendix 8.2B will no longer be confidential once published publicly. 8.3. The request for, quote, consultancy services to facilitate the recruitment and selection of a Chief Executive Officer, that with regard to requests for, quote, consultancy services to facilitate the recruitment and selection of a Chief Executive Officer, Council 1 notes the request for, quote, for the provision of consultancy services to facilitate the recruitment and selection of a Chief Executive Officer as presented in Confidential Appendix 8.3A, and 2, considers the Chief Executive Officer recruitment consultancy list for determining who to invite to, quote, as presented in Confidential Appendix 8.3B. It was moved en bloc and carried 7-0. And with that, I move to close this special council meeting at 8:11 a.m. on the 2nd of December 2025. Thanks everyone for coming.